Hello and welcome to our English news coming to you from Canal Algeria. First, the top stories of the news. The fourth edition of the IATF wind-ups with a record number of concluded deals amounting to $48 billion. The fund in charge of financing startups and innovative youth in Africa is launched pursuant to the decision of the President of the Republic. And France is jolted by sporadic incidents as part of a mobilization move against the 2026 budget bill. Welcome back. First in our news, the fourth edition of the IATF wound up on Wednesday with a record number in terms of concluded deals amounting to $48 billion, $11 billion of which to the benefit of Algeria. The closing ceremony was chaired by the private principal secretary to the presidency, Boualem, the general manager of the communication directorate of the presidency, Kamal Sidi Said, the foreign and domestic trade ministers, respectively, Kamal Rizig and Taib Zitouni. In addition to senior state officials were present also at the event, Afreximbank Director General Benedict Orama, the former Nigerian president, and the head of the IATF Advisory Council, Olusegun Obasanjo, representatives of the AU, the AFC, FTA, and the representatives of the diplomatic corps accredited to Algeria. Let's now have a listen to the former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo and the current President of the IATF Advisory Council speaking about this command and the role of Algeria.
I would like to recall my discussion in July 2025 with His Excellency, the President of the Republic, President Tebboune. President of the President of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria and Minister of National Defense and Commander-in-Chief of the People's National Army.
Olusegun Obasanjo praising Algeria's efforts. Minister of Knowledge, Economy, Startups and Micro-Enterprises Noordin Wadah announced the creation of a fund to finance startups and innovative youth in Africa pursuant to the decision of President Abdelmadjid Tebboune via the Algerian Agency for International Cooperation, Solidarity and Development. The operation concerns immediately 30 companies taking part in the IATF with a view to promoting innovation in Africa. According to the same speaker, who pointed out that training and financing African students is also in the offing as part of this initiative. Several Algerian companies sealed major exports deal on the closing day of the fourth edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair, signing contracts worth hundreds of billions of dollars with partners across the continent and beyond. Melissa Lila Balaman.
On the closing day of the fourth Intra-African Trade Fair, Algerian companies signed major export agreements worth hundreds of millions of dollars with partners across the continent. The Sonarem Group sealed 5 deals with Tunisia, Burkina Faso, Togo, and Egypt, covering mineral exports. The Central Laboratory for Public Works, part of the JICA Group, signed a $2 million agreement with Guinea's Balin Group. In mechanics, Technocast will export high-end spare parts to U.S. company Carpathia in a $35 million deal. In electronics and appliances, the Iris Group will supply Zimbabwe with household equipment worth $50 million US. In automotive industries, ICAM Algeria signed a $25 million contract with Libya's Hilal al-Jabal to export brake pads to Libya, Tunisia, and Egypt. The Algerian Technical Studies Company also secured a $2 million deal with a Guinean partner. In agri-food, the Label Group struck a $200 million agreement with Uganda's Jabber, boosting Algerian food exports to East Africa. Meanwhile, defenders signed 3 memoranda with partners in Sierra Leone, Ghana, and Ethiopia. Finally, the Algerian engineering company for construction and industry concluded a €185 agreement with Canada's AMEL to produce and export smart glass to several African markets.
To another story now, Prime Minister Seif Gharieb chaired a cabinet meeting devoted to the implementation of the President's guidelines during the meeting of August the 26th relating to transport sector. As regards the buses renewal, the roadmap examined by the government urges the import of 10,000 buses to replace the old ones exploited for more than 30 years. Highways were also tackled during the meeting concerning fight against wildfires. A report was reviewed highlighting the efforts made by the relevant authorities in line with the proactive strategy. And finally, the cabinet meeting examined 3 executive decrees pertaining to the telecommunications sector and the exploitation of G5 mobile license. To the weekly report now, the PNA, as part of fighting terrorism, PNA detachment eliminated 2 terrorists and restored weapons and equipment in their possession. And in the same context, terrorist known as Ghannami Ahmed surrendered to the military authorities of Adrar. In his possession, weapons and ammunition. PNA units arrested 9 elements backing terrorist groups throughout the country. Regarding organized crime and drug trafficking, PNA detachment in coordination with the other security services intercepted 71 drug traffickers and thwarted attempts of introducing considerable quantities of processed cannabis and psychotropic tablets hailing from the Moroccan borders. In Tamanras, Bourj Baji Mukhtar, in Salah, Tinduf and Jinat, PNA unit arrested 632 people and seized weapons and equipment used in illegal gold panning operations and restored weapons, fuel and other goods destined to speculation and smuggling. And finally, coastal guards followed attempts of illegal migration, rescued 229 migrants using dinghies and arrested 686 migrants of different nationalities throughout the national territory. To international news and to the Palestinian territories, where the Zionist war machinery stepped up its attacks on Gaza Strip with the sole objective to raise buildings and force Gazans to flee their homes to the southern and central regions. Military orders were given to Gaza people to immediately leave the city, a real plight for citizens who do not know where to go, along with their families, notably women and children. Without footage now, in coordination with Qatar, Algeria, Pakistan and Somalia, the UN Security Council meeting is to be held today instead of Wednesday to discuss the Zionist strikes on Doha, Qatar. Blockades, clashes and a wave of anger from Paris and Marseille. France woke up to a day of nationwide disruption as protesters escalated their fight against Macron's government, turning September the 10th into a show of strength. Covered by Afaf Belhouchet, taken up by Melissa Lila Baraman.
They promised action and delivered. At dawn, blockades spread across France. In Paris, at Porte de Vincennes, activists stopped buses from leaving depots.
De cette mobilisation que Bayrou
Bayrou's resignation came from the September 10th call. He left out of fear, though his budget was doomed anyway. Expect more actions today.
Et là on voit que la police se met en
Police moved in quickly, forcing protesters into nearby cafes and detaining a France Insoumise MP. At another bus depot in Béar, unions joined in, keeping buses trapped behind locked gates.
On doit se mobiliser pour tous les dégager.
We must rise up and push them all out. Without a mass movement, Macron's rotten policies will continue. Work more, earn less, pay more for health care.
Encore celle qui veut nous faire payer de plus en plus cher pour avoir accès à la santé.
In Lyon, the city center was paralyzed. Roads were cut off, riot police charged, clashes broke out.
Et c'était ce qui était prévu, hein.
All of this was planned. I knew I'd get stuck, but I support it.
Donc voilà, j'ai pris ma voiture, je savais que je risquais d'être bloquée.
Je suis venu pour manifester et bloquer.
I'm here against Macron and his system. Bayrou's gone, but Macron keeps doing the same damage. We want purchasing power, justice, and it would be nice to have some democracy as well.
La justice fiscale. Et on veut aussi plus de démocratie. Ce serait bien que ce soit respecté un peu dans ce pays.
In Marseille, students called for revolution. In Nantes, cyclists staged snail actions. Even rural towns joined in.
De Bayrou à Cornu, ça va être exactement la même chose.
Bayrou or not, it's the same fight. Retirement at 64, attacks on workers' rights. All of this is bad for us.
Il a prévu, ce n'est que mauvais pour les travailleurs.
In Rennes, the Rocard Highway, a vital highway in western France, was seized by hundreds of young people. Tear gas barely dispersed them, and a bus set on fire froze traffic. In Toulouse, arrests were heavy-handed. In Occitanie, a blaze halted the Toulouse-Auch rail line. But Paris saw the most dramatic scenes. Students clashing with riot police, minors arrested, train stations stormed, tear gas, even a building in flames. By midday, the Interior Ministry counted nearly 300 arrests. Yet, the crowds only grew, swelling into a human tide. From Rennes to Marseille, through Paris, anger grew sharper, defiance stronger. All day, the same cycle. Police charges, protesters pushing back, the next showdown, the September 18th general strike. We have a week to prepare. If the strike is strong on the 18th, the government will have to resign.
Le nouveau gouvernement, il sera obligé de démissionner.
In all, 80,000 police and military police were deployed, backed by helicopters, drones, and armored vehicles. Officials called it an ultra-left hijacking. On the ground, protesters said it was citizen-led, angry, determined, and backed even by the elderly.
From France back to Algiers to wrap up our English news bulletin. Tomorrow, another day, other news. Keep tuning to our channels and program. Take care. Goodbye for now.